There's a line in the sand. Where will you stand?
Yeah, there you are. Hey, Hanok Young, Moda'in. You guys, this is just like crazy to crazier to craziest in that place.
Yeah, and we're nowhere near the end of things.
Yeah, I'm gonna run out of adjectives.
Yeah, okay, let me summarize things really quickly
Okay.
without going into details, kind of the broad things.
Yeah,
What Israel is experiencing in our battle against Hezbollah, and again, that battle started on October 8th.
yeah,
We just got around to really dealing with it very recently. We were basically playing the game of tag, or tit for tat.
yeah.
And it was ridiculous. And our enormous successes, and by the way, for those who think that Israel is like on the verge of declaring victory over Hezbollah and that it's over,
No,
y'all are missing the point.
no, no.
What we're
I,
experiencing is the very best of Israeli intelligence and the very best of planning and preparation. Again, let's remind our audiences, Israel had been preparing for an invasion by Hezbollah, which is far stronger and far more dangerous than Hamas.
yeah,
Those responsible for the intelligence gathering and assessment in the South failed horribly, and our planning was a joke. I mean, if people hadn't been killed, it would have been laughable.
yeah,
This is the exact opposite. So what's amazing is in military colleges throughout the world, they will be teaching the greatest intelligence successes and the greatest intelligent failures, and it's all going to be Israel within 1 year.
wow.
Amazing.
Interesting way to look at that.
It's really totally amazing. And the fact that there was a major, I don't know if you want to call it demonstration or riot in New York City, flood the streets for Lebanon. And again, people like me sit back and say, wait a second, wasn't this all allegedly about the occupation? We don't have a single grain of sand or dirt or a rock of Lebanon.
Yeah,
Nothing. Nothing.
yeah.
So it's really astounding. But I know you had mentioned you had a couple of questions. Maybe we should start from there and branch off. What do you think?
Okay, yeah, the main one, and of course, I got up this morning and looked, and a surface-to-surface missile that was intended for Tel Aviv, Zikron
Yes,
Yaakov.
yes.
The number of alerts that I woke up to this morning, I don't understand. For one thing, I don't understand is how Israel is not totally bankrupt as a country right now after this 1 year. This one interceptor, I saw a news report this morning, the
Yeah.
one interceptor for this rocket, and you've been talking about for a long time, the high tech things that will come out of the north as opposed to the, kind of garage built stuff of
Yeah,
Hamas.
the low tech. Yep.
Yeah, one interceptor, $700,000.
All I know is our Ministry of Finance Minister is Bezalel Smotrich. They're already talking about increasing taxes. And we are among the most heavily taxed nation in the world.
Yeah,
How this is going to work, I don't know. And I keep seeing the debt in the billions of dollars just increasing. So how this is going to now, on the other hand, we continue to work on a laser version
yeah,
of the Iron Dome. And that's supposed to be ready in about 2025.
yeah.
That
Well,
would be a tremendous game changer. Now, the other thing I want to mention very quickly is for 19 years, Israelis from the south all the way to Tel Aviv and Jerusalem have been terrorized by rockets from Hamas.
Yeah.
Okay. There are no more rockets from Hamas because of all that we've done and the fact that we're sitting on the Philadelphia corridor
Hmm.
and the north and preventing additional missiles from getting in.
Yeah.
So where it appears that like all of a sudden, oh, we're not doing anything in the south in Gaza, that's not the case. Just wanted to say that.
Yeah, there's still action that's going on in Gaza. I know that because of people that I'm in contact with.
Sure.
So okay, raising taxes.
Yeah.
We've got a saying in the South is you can't get blood out of a turnip. To tax Mr. Hanok Young tour guide, uh, at a higher rate, it's probably not going to buy a whole lot of anything.
Listen, since COVID, which interestingly enough, in Israel, it's usually referred to as Corona.
Uh,
So, you think of the Mexican beer, but it's not.
yeah,
Since that started, that was March of 2020. So in the last 54 months, I've been able to work 18 of them.
Yeah.
And I was with a number of other tour guides for a seminar, ironically, on the Temple Mount yesterday. Had an interesting run-in with the police because they're kind of unnerved that I'm there to pray with the Jewish groups, and then other days that I'm guiding people, and then other days I'm there with these tour guide seminars. So we'll talk about that another day.
yeah.
We'll see what happens. But the thing that's interesting, I was talking to other tour guides, and they asked me, so when do you think tourism will resume? My working assumption, my hope and my prayer is by the spring of 2025. And each and every one of the other 7 tour guides that were there told me that I was dreaming.
I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but I'm going to go with the 7, and think maybe the end of 2025, possibly. But I mentioned this about the blood in the turnip thing because the number of people that are have been displaced from the north. We're talking about thousands and thousands and thousands of people that have been displaced. Yes. These
Correct.
people are in hotels. I was with them up in in the Galilee region.
Right.
The ones that were in the Levi Yerushalayim when I was there. The burden on the state of Israel is enormous. And to try to tax people that are not working, even one of our presidential candidates might think that's crazy. But
the thing is, most Israelis are working. Those of us in
remote.
tourism, we could sit, buddy, can you spare a dime?
Yeah.
The thing that's kind of funny about this whole thing is Modi'in has gotten very little rocket fire to date. We're in the center of the country, but we're not in Gush Dan. We're not Tel Aviv, Ramat Gan, Holon, etc. Netanya, the whole strip. We're not. And the other night, as most of our listeners who know me know, I don't sleep well. And the other night, all night long, I was hearing planes, not our jets, but the slower rumble. The slower rumble, veterans like you, Mike, like Kathy, and others will, be thinking C-130s. These are, the big cargo planes. Now, it brought back a really weird sense of deja vu for me, because where I lived in Queens was a neighborhood called Rego Park. And it wasn't that far from the 2 major airports by car. And it was in the landing path, the flight path of LaGuardia Airport. So in the days immediately after 9/11, there were enormous amounts of military transport. Yeah. So there was no other air, you got used to the planes going up, none of that, but you heard these cargo planes.
Yeah.
So it's a very, very weird situation.
Mm.
The North is getting slammed.
Yeah.
It's horrific. It's
So
really
that leads me
horrific.
to my second question to you. And
Yes,
I don't know if there's an answer or this is an appropriate question or whatever, but that's never stopped me. Um, I'm looking at when I watch the news and or I look at stuff on the internet and 1,600 targets taken out
right,
in Lebanon,
right.
200 taken out, 300 terrorists. It seems that with this much intelligence that there would be, I mean, what is southern Lebanon? Is it just a launch pad? With that much intelligence that I hear,
But
okay,
it's not
we
just
know
Southern
where,
Lebanon.
yeah, we know where this person is and this person is and this person is.
Right.
Uh, this is like, to me, it's like, playing darts when you could go
Right.
up and just take the stupid board off the wall and burn it.
If there wasn't a concern for civilian casualties,
Yeah, yeah,
we could have carpet bombed it. Now, here's the interesting thing, and I don't know how much of this has been picked up in the media that our listeners listen to, but we hacked into Lebanon's radio stations, issuing a directive from the IDF of people in certain areas needing to leave their homes. The other thing that we've uncovered, and evidently our intelligence has known for years, are that cruise missiles and their launchers are stored in people's homes.
yeah,
It's like, your upper floor in your home, instead of having people stay there, instead of your office where you are right now, you've got a cruise missile. And you and Kathy are just making an income. I mean, it's a whole different thinking.
mm,
It's a whole different type of network marketing. Okay,
yeah,
just think of it that way.
yeah. There you go. There
So
you
it's
go.
it's very it's very very strange.
So
But here's something that
once again, Israel is putting civilians who are not really innocent civilians because, if you know that your neighbor has a cruise missile in their bedroom, that's not an innocent civilian. But, the
no,
United Nations, the unwanted nobodies, we saw what Sleepy Joe, he actually made it up there unassisted pretty much, was able to ramble through a few things. And now we see, the number of nations that came against Israel the other day saying just, you guys, yeah, I mean, it goes back to what I've been saying all along. The problem is you're breathing. Okay. Just quit breathing
that
and the
is the
world
issue.
will be at peace.
That is the issue. It is astounding. Now, here's something I want to point out that people may have missed. So we had all the pagers blow up.
Yeah.
And it appears that the timing was planned. It wasn't like one of these, like, oh, they're about to find out about it, so we've got to let it go, which is what people thought at first.
Yeah.
Then people thought it was some kind of signal to the batteries. No, these were explosives, you know. And the thing that's interesting, the next day, of course, was the walkie-talkies. And then shortly afterwards, there was a whole group of the senior personnel of the Radwan, that's their elite fighting force, were all wiped out in a missile strike. Did it dawn on anyone how it was that all of these guys were in one area and how we knew about it? Because that's coming out today.
Ah,
That's been coming out because they had no communications and they wanted to move forward with this plan to invade the Galilee. They had to get together in person. We were tracking those, we were looking at all of the people who had been injured, all the terrorists that were injured in the pager and walkie-talkie explosions, and
okay.
seeing who visited them.
Hmm.
The guys that visited multiple people we knew were involved on a serious level with Hezbollah. And we tracked them, and that's it. So in other words, without the pager and the walkie-talkie thing, we wouldn't have been able to get all those leaders at one time. So it's amazing. This is truly Israel at its best,
Oh
without
yeah,
a doubt,
yeah,
without a
yeah,
doubt.
yeah. What about Sinwar? There was a report that there's no communication, that he might possibly be dead. Is there anything we don't know, or
You know, what's interesting is it's the American sources, the
yeah?
American authorities that keep insisting that he's dead. I don't believe it at this point.
Yeah.
You
Yeah,
know,
I
I
have a problem
mean,
with that too.
you know, because if we got him, we would know,
Yeah.
and we would be the first to announce it.
Hmm. But
Now,
America is still trying to put this thing that there's a deal on the table and the two-state solution delusion, and and people here, probably not our listeners, but people in the United States really believe what Blinken, who needs to change his name because there's not even enough light in him to blink anymore. Um, I mean, the fact that this guy would stand up and say that there is a deal on the table, uh, no, it's just that is total lie, but they still continue to propagate this.
because the Americans and the Europeans, the governments, they're so locked into a little square paradigm.
Yeah,
They can't think beyond that.
yeah,
And again, for 19 years, Gaza was totally independent.
yeah,
This is what they chose to do. Instead of building their, Singapore on the Mediterranean, this is what they chose to do. All the billions of aid from the US and European Union went to tunnels and missiles. Now, after the seminar on the Temple Mount yesterday, and by the way, I got to see some of the remaining bedrock and elements of the Antonia Fortress on the northern side,
wow,
which I had actually never experienced before. So that was interesting. But afterwards, I went into the Christian Quarter, which, by the way, is a ghost town.
yeah,
It's like an old Clint Eastwood movie. The wooden doors of the saloon are creaking. Sagebrush is rolling down the streets, empty. But I went to see the guys in the store that I tend to deal with.
yeah. That we
You know the
mutual
guys.
friends.
They're good guys,
Yeah,
certified by the Israeli Ministry of Tourism. But their understanding of things is as Arabs.
yeah,
They're Arabs.
yeah,
Some are Muslim, some are Christian. And they're saying, like, hey, there could have been a ceasefire. And I kept saying to them, y'all don't understand. We're not going for a ceasefire again. There was a permanent ceasefire in effect till 6:30 in the morning, October 7th, until Hamas broke it. We're not going for now. The US and France, among others, are desperately trying to get some kind of deal going with Lebanon. I want to caution everyone again, despite all of our successes to date, Hezbollah still has a lot of firepower.
yeah,
We've taken out a lot of missiles. We've taken out a lot of missile launchers. They've got a lot of firepower. They could be firing a lot more rockets. We don't know the orders they're getting from Iran. It's fairly complex. Now, I want to state clearly, I do not believe that Israel will go in and occupy southern Lebanon to the Litani River as we had been between 82 and 2000, even though we desperately need to do that, simply because the Americans will not allow us to.
yeah. Pretty much.
And I don't believe any American administration come the end of January would allow that.
No, probably not. Okay, back up just a little bit. You were in the shop of some mutual acquaintances. I'll put that
Yes,
way.
right.
And I mean, I've known these guys for over 20 years. They are Christian Arabs. Okay. What most people don't understand is that Christian Arabs, for the most part, side with Muslim Arabs regarding the state of Israel. regarding the Jews. Armenian, or the Armenian Quarter, which is a very small group of people, but they also side, as I have sat with a person that I know and listened to him ramble, and his opinion is that of the whole, pretty much the whole community. They side with Muslim Arabs. The Samaritans up in the Shomron, they side with the Muslim Arabs. So, you guys are pretty much on your own. So, somebody thinks, well, if they're called Christian, so that must be that they follow the scripture and all this stuff. Well, being called a Christian is kind of like being called a Big Mac at McDonald's. Until you open the box, you may have a quarter pounder in there, but they put it in a Big Mac
what's
box.
What's really funny is there are certain things that you can say
that you can't,
that I should not ever.
Yeah.
Although that's a great line. Let me just quickly jump in there for 1 second. For those of our listeners who have not been to Israel, or even among the majority of those who have, you need to understand something about Christianity in Israel. We have all of the classic ancient Christian denominations.
Yes.
Greek, Russian Orthodox. We have, in America, they're called Roman Catholics. Here, they're called Latin Catholics. We even have something called Greek Catholics. We have the Armenian Orthodox. We have the Ethiopic, Coptic, Syriac. I could go down the list.
Yeah.
What we do not have are Protestant denominations. So most of our listeners come from a background in one of many Christian denominations, most of whom are not Catholic.
Yeah.
So they're coming from a Baptist, they're coming from, whatever, Church of God, whatever it might be, Lutheran, whatever. We don't have that here. We don't have Protestants.
Probably
So
the closest thing you would have
Christians
is King of Kings over over the YMCA, and that's a whole another subject that I don't really want to go to today. So this is, I don't call them Christian Arabs. I call them Catholic Arabs, because their theology is that of Catholicism, of Greek Orthodox, all of those things. Basically, when you have your leader wearing a dress, there's a problem.
Okay. I've heard it referred to as a fancy bathrobe.
Yeah.
Kind of like my mother, Aleh Shalom, of blessed memory, had what she called a house dress.
Yeah.
That's, usually when she was vacuuming the living room on Saturday morning, listening to the Temptations or Diana Ross and the Supremes. That's the rhythm to vacuum by the way, evidently.
Okay. So, I mean, what do you think, Netanyahu going to the UN? I mean, this is going to be a fiasco. How many nations will not show up? This is going to be like, he's going to be looking around out there going, hello, can anybody hear me? Because there's going to be a boatload of of people that don't show up to even hear what he says.
The thing that's fascinating is the fact that 124 nations at the UN voted for. Now, again, it's a toothless resolution. But when we who have discussed biblical prophecies before, and I tread on that line really carefully, the issue has always come up when we talk about all the nations of the world coming against Israel. We've thought of it in a literal sense. I actually had people argue with me years ago that 1 million men from the Chinese army were going to come, trucking down the Silk Road. And that's what, and, people looking at, Turkey, and Russia. No, the whole world is coming against Israel right now.
Yeah.
When on major universities, they're pushing for boycott, divestment, and sanctions. When University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill is, defacing. I mean, this is across America,
Oh yeah.
and it did not get better. While these kids were on summer vacation.
No.
I mean, this is a world gone insane. And in England, they get together every Saturday, the Muslims, and they demonstrate and they deface all of the monuments to British soldiers who died in the First and Second World War.
Well,
it's amazing.
Yeah. Well, we have biblical times ahead of us, Hanok.
Okay. I don't know how we're doing on time, so I'm just going to ignore that. But anyway.
2 more minutes. Yeah.
So this Shabbat is Parshat, it's actually Parshiot, two Parshas.
Yes.
Nitzavim and Vayelech. Okay. Nitzavim is my bar mitzvah parsha.
Ah.
This is the Haftarah. Now, again, I may have mentioned this previously. It's fascinating how I got it because it was supposed to be your bar mitzvah ties in with your birthday. Now, for my parents who didn't know better at the time, it then would have been in July. But they didn't want to have a bar mitzvah party for me because my friends wouldn't be there. The 3 friends that I had, they the summer was inconvenient. So they pushed it off to September. Now, the irony is my Hebrew birth date is not July 12th. My Hebrew birth date is the 4th of Av. So and actually my due date was supposed to be 5 days later. I was supposed to be born on the 9th of Av. I checked this. My parents didn't know any of this stuff. Very ironic. Anyway, so the Parsha, the Haftarah, the prophetic portion read is from Yeshayahu, Isaiah. And this is where it says, Al chomotayich Yerushalayim ifkadati shomrim. On your walls, O Jerusalem, I will place watchmen. For Jerusalem's sake, I will not be quiet. This is, and I got to tell you, if anyone was ever writing a script for my life, it would have those words.
Yeah.
Now, it wasn't until I was an adult that I realized that, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
I mean, I didn't grow up in a religious environment. I didn't grow up understanding and cross-correlating this stuff. So it's pretty amazing. And we're in a very crucial stage now. So yesterday, I was, as I left the Christian Quarter, I went into the Cardo, where the only 3 shops that are open in the Cardo are the jeweler, is a Judaica store, and our friend Udi Merioz. Now, in there was a woman that had been on Connect, Susie, along with 2 other volunteers from Hayovel.
Yep.
Young women. And so where are you guys from? One's from Montana and one's from Missouri. I was proud that I've spoken in both states. So the one from Montana, I said, how'd you get here? Well, she flew from Montana to Chicago to Seattle to somewhere in Europe. So I said, wait a second. I'm not really good with my U.S. geography. I learned that in 2nd grade, which was more than a few weeks ago. I said, but from Montana, isn't Chicago this way? And then Seattle is that way? So she's thinking about it. She's like, yeah, actually. So I think it's amazing that, and volunteers, particularly from the Jewish community as well, continue to come to Israel.
Yeah, even though the flights are, I saw that during the festivals, the flight to Israel is about $7,000.
And again, I do not understand people who insist. I'm not talking about this year. I'm talking about in general. I do not understand people who insist on coming during Sukkot.
No, I don't either.
Okay?
There's no reason. I mean, biblically, yes, I got that, but
no, actually, no. The temple is not standing.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
And again, if these people would all come up with me to the Temple Mount,
Yeah.
I'd feel better about it. But people who say, well, I'm coming for the feast. First of all, prices, again, I'm not talking about this year. Prices are astronomical.
Mhm.
It's incredibly crowded. And I can't tell you how many people have told me that their vision of coming was they have the divine expectation that some Jewish family is going to bump into them and invite them to spend the holiday in their sukkah.
Yeah, that happens when you're up at Hayvel, and some of the families from Harbor Ka
Yeah,
will actually invite you. But just to
yeah.
walk around, this is, yeah. I mean, I can understand why someone would want to go during the festivals, but it is practicality right now. If you want to go over there, a lot of Jews, take this time. The shops are not open, or they're open for minimal hours.
It's
It
a
just
national
doesn't make a lot of
holiday.
sense. Huh?
All the school, it's a national
Yeah,
holiday like
yeah,
Pesach. All the schools are closed. Most
yeah.
people are on vacation.
And if you want to
National
go
holiday.
somewhere, you're going to have the crowds with it. Yeah, it's like visiting during, this would be like visiting during kindergarten being out. It's going to be rough. So, oh well, that's what it is. Um, so, well, be safe as always.
Hey, there's a lot for people to pray for. Um, my focus, the mood in Israel is incredibly ecstatic.
Yeah,
Without a doubt, across the board, we are thrilled that our government and our IDF are finally doing something.
yeah,
And we're doing it so well.
yeah.
So, we wish brachot of protection on all our young soldiers, all the residents of the North, and may Hashem lead us to victory to destroy the evil in this world once and for all.
Agreed. Absolutely agreed. All right, man. Till next week.
See ya.